is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Good morning, I'm Lauren Casey. The time right now is 4:27 here on your Tuesday. I want to thank you for starting your day with us here on Good Morning Indiana. Let's get to our top stories before we get into the show today. Starting off with the latest COVID numbers. These are given out by the state health department each day around the lunch hour. And so these are the latest numbers we have for the Hoosier State. The total of new cases reported 658. That was actually the lowest number in about a week now. The total number of people tested, more than 600,000, or 9% positivity rate as of today. The total cases that we've had since the pandemic began, 57,206. Yesterday, the State Department of Health reported 3 new deaths from COVID-19, bringing the death toll to more than 2,600. We'll continue to keep these numbers updated and break them down and see what this means for us as we work to rebound from this pandemic. Something else we'll be talking about today are masks and mask mandates. We've been telling you about local businesses and retailers that are requiring these. We know Marion County requires these in public places, and now we're hearing that the city of Fishers will be requiring masks in public spaces starting on Friday. So that is any public place, indoors, and then also outdoors if social distancing is not possible. In Fishers, children who are 5 years old or younger, or anyone with any specific health conditions, they do not fall under that category for the mask mandate, and we'll be breaking down more on this coming up here on the show. We do want to take a turn right now to our forecast. Todd Clausen is standing by from home, and Todd, yesterday ended up being a pretty nice day.
Yeah, you know, there were a few very, very spotty showers, as we mentioned, that rolled through at times. But outside of those small shower chances, it was beautiful, Lauren. Seasonable with partly cloudy skies. Today, probably not quite as much in the way of sunshine and better storm chances off and on. You take a live look at Storm Team 6 radar in the center of your screen right now, and you can see there's still some very heavy rainfall at this hour on the eastern side of the state. The rest of central Indiana is dry. Temperatures are currently sitting in the 60s and 70s, so we still kind of have that muggy feel. As we go throughout the day, high temperatures today up to 85 degrees, and more storms are possible later on this afternoon, and some of the ones this afternoon could be severe, and that's going to be very dependent on what happens the first half of the day. The more sunshine we can build in, the better potential for some of those severe storms. If we kind of keep the skies mostly cloudy, that severe threat will diminish. So that's something that's going to have to play out throughout the day. We'll talk more about that and beyond, Lauren, coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you. We also want to take a look at Mass Ave. We've been covering the street closures, making this more pedestrian friendly, and a lot of businesses were upset about this when this first went into place. So we are taking a look now after weeks have gone by, how things are going for them. We'll have that plus news, weather, and traffic coming up right here on Good Morning Indiana.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
What we're going to do is I'll get involved and we'll start doing briefings.
President Trump says White House coronavirus briefings are going to start up again now at 4:30. Why they're coming back and what you can expect to hear. Plus, a state representative pushing for Governor Holcomb to enforce a statewide mask mandate. This morning, why he says the fight is personal. And some Mass Ave business owners are now praising the decision to shut down streets after initially criticizing the closures. We talked to one local shop owner who says the shutdown actually brought the community closer together. But before we get into those top stories today, I want to thank you for joining us on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey. Todd Clausen standing by from home at this early hour. Todd, what can we expect as people head out the door for their Tuesday?
You know, most of us are dry here this morning, Lauren, but for those of you over in the Richmond area, Wayne County, into portions of Henry County, the rain is really coming down right now. Take a live look at Storm Team 6 radar, and you can see that we are dealing with skies that are partly cloudy across most of the area. But look at this heavy rainfall as we come in to Richmond, back into Cambridge City, down into Fairview as we extend down towards portions of Rush County. The heavy rain is now east of Newcastle. No lightning here, so this is a good old-fashioned downpour that's making its way just slowly off towards the east. But that's really the only game in town right now as far as storms go. However, we'll have to keep an eye on this cluster of storms near St. Louis. It's basically going to start to follow the same path. It's going to weaken as it heads in our direction, but could bring some rain to some areas here as we work our way past sunrise and into the morning hours. 60s and 70s right now. High temperatures with that muggy feel. Once again, Lauren, going to be topping off today right around 85 degrees.
All right, Todd, thank you. Let's take a look right now at traffic up on the northwest side. This is I-465 and West 86th Street. You can see traffic in this area is moving along up to speed, both northbound and southbound. No crashes or issues to slow you down on your roads this hour, but of course, we'll keep our eye on things and keep you updated throughout your Tuesday. Well, more than 140,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus since this pandemic began, and cases continue to rise. But there is a glimmer of hope about several vaccines that could be safe and effective by the year's end. And this morning, President Trump says that he'll resume regular coronavirus briefings after stopping them back in April. ABC's Rena Roy joins us now with the latest.
This morning, a sign of hope in the race for a vaccine against COVID-19.
By the end of 2020, we will have 1, 2, or maybe 3 vaccines that have been proven safe and effective.
A new study published in The Lancet finding an experimental Oxford vaccine appears to be safe and activates the immune system to respond to the virus. The U.S. government investing $1.2 billion in the Oxford vaccine developed by AstraZeneca, ordering 300 million doses. Right now, it is in phase 3 trials, on track to be the first to be widely produced. This as new cases rise in at least 40 states. Florida considered one of the nation's hotspots, with more than 10,000 new cases every day for nearly a week. You can see long lines of people waiting to get tested in Miami-Dade County. Protesters frustrated with Florida's governor yelling over him at a news conference yesterday. Meantime, Texas is one of at least 39 states battling an increase in hospitalizations. In Hidalgo County, patients waiting up to 10 hours before an initial exam. On the campaign trail, presidential candidate Joe Biden slamming the president's handling of the pandemic.
There is no leadership here. This guy has no sense of empathy or concern for people. People are dying.
The attack comes after President Trump tweeted this picture saying, quote, "Many people say that it is patriotic to wear a face mask when you can't socially distance. There is nobody more patriotic than me." As he comes under fire over his handling of the pandemic, President Trump now says he plans to ramp up his involvement in briefings on the virus after they abruptly stopped in April. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, back here at home, a bit of positive news. The State Department of Health reporting 658 new cases of COVID-19. That's actually the lowest in the past week. So far, 635,660 Hoosiers have been tested for the virus. 57,206 of those tests have come back positive. That's at about 9% positivity. 3 additional deaths were also reported on Monday. That brings the total number of coronavirus deaths in our state to 2,632. And this morning, we're hearing from a central Indiana family that's been waiting weeks for the results of a COVID-19 test. Amanda Cook says that her daughter took a test at CVS in Anderson after waking up with a sore throat. Well, it's been 2 weeks and still no results. Cook says not knowing and going without a paycheck has been really hard on her daughter.
She's a recent college graduate, and her work post-college, she had a contract that already got canceled, so she had to move home and get a part-time job. Now she's not even able to do that.
Well, we reached out to CVS, and the company tells us patient samples are sent to a third-party lab, which is responsible for processing and delivering the test results. They say an increase in COVID-19 cases in other parts of the country has led to these delays. Indiana's health commissioner acknowledged that issue at last week's press conference. And a reminder, anyone who works or lives in Indiana can get a free COVID test through the state. There are no other requirements. You can register at lhi.care/COVID testing or by calling 888-634-1116. Governor Holcomb is facing more calls to enforce a statewide mask mandate, the latest push coming from the newest member of the Indiana House of Representatives. Democratic Representative Blake Johnson wrote a letter to Governor Holcomb last week requesting the mandate. In it, he discusses his mother's multiple sclerosis and added risk the risk that she faces from COVID-19. Johnson says, quote, "My question to you is simple. Why does my mother's life and the lives of so many others who are at greater risk of severe illness from COVID-19 matter less than the personal comfort and conveniences of those who refuse to believe science and adhere to your calls to do the right thing?" Dr. Woody Myers, Holcomb's opponent on the November election, also called for a statewide mask mandate earlier this month. In a tweet, he said, quote, "Mask orders are proven to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and save lives. Indiana is already facing the consequences of not mandating one," end quote. There is some misunderstanding about medical exemptions to wearing masks. A legal expert tells us the Americans with Disabilities Act makes it so that businesses make reasonable accommodations to everyone. Conditions that qualify as a mask exemption have a smaller scope than many people realize. For example, asthma patients likely do not fall under the scope, but later stages of pulmonary respiratory disease, emphysema, or a serious mobility issue can be a legitimate reason. As for privacy concerns, store employees are allowed to ask you why you're not wearing a mask. If you refuse to answer, they can refuse entry. Now, experts say that an ADA does not apply if there's a direct threat to someone's health or safety, and also HIPAA privacy laws do not apply in this situation.
It makes it an obstacle, and what we don't need right now are obstacles. It has been nice to have a pedestrian-friendly Mass Ave this summer.
What a difference 2 months makes. Some businesses are now praising a decision to shut down streets in popular parts of Indianapolis after initially criticizing those closures. Kristen Kahn is the owner of Silver in the City, and after seeing the pedestrian-friendly plan in action, she's found appreciation for the once unwelcome change. Kahn says she initially was against the plan to close down the street, but that's since changed. Her shop now features a sitting area where cars would normally park, and the names of Black Americans fueling the Black Lives Matter movement are what customers see as they walk in the doors.
Having the streets closed allowed us to connect more as members of the community, and as people came out to protest and in support of Black Lives Matters, and as businesses started putting up boards, again showing their support. But the conversations that we've been able to have, because so many people came and walked and biked.
Kahn says while there have been plenty of good to come from the street closures, it hasn't necessarily saved every business from the deep hole created by the coronavirus pandemic. Well, the city has extended the street closures on Mass Ave, Georgia Street, and Broad Ripple Avenue. Those will last until the Labor Day holiday. The mayor's office says it will stay in touch with the businesses during those closures. Meanwhile, a local film festival is going on as planned despite the pandemic, and you don't even have to leave your own home. It's its third year, the Indy Shorts International Film Festival. It's going virtual, and it's offering up more than 100 short films people can watch online. This year, they're also showing films at Tibbs Drive-In. Jessica Chapman, marketing director for Heartland Films, says they've actually sold over twice as many film passes this year than the last year.
I think there's something new and fun about going to the drive-ins, even though it's an older concept. I think it's something that people don't think about and they haven't experienced. It's a new experience for them.
Indy Shorts International Film Festival is an Academy Award qualifying festival dedicated to short films. If you want to check it out, you can learn more in this story on the RTV6 app. President Trump's former fixer and personal attorney is suing U.S. Attorney General William Barr. Coming up, why Michael Cohen says Barr sent him back to prison as retaliation. And more changes are coming to the NFL. Still to come, why it could be September before you see your favorite team back on the field. Todd.
And Lauren, across central Indiana, most of us are dry right now, but where it is raining, over in Wayne County, back into portions of Shelby County, it is coming down really, really hard. As far as going forward throughout the day, well, more showers and storms are heading our way. We'll talk all about it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 4:40. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV 6.
Welcome back. And new this morning, Michael Cohen is suing Attorney General Bill Barr in his latest attempt to get out of prison. Lawyers for Cohen claim that he was taken back into custody because of a tell-all book that he was writing about his years as President Trump's fixer. They say the Justice Department is retaliating and violating his First Amendment rights. Cohen is currently serving a 3-year sentence after pleading guilty to tax fraud and lying to Congress. As part of the Bureau of Prisons' coronavirus response, Cohen was released in May and placed on furlough. No comment yet from the Department of Justice. Georgia State Senator Nikema Williams will run to replace Representative John Lewis. The civil rights icon died Friday at the age of 80 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. Williams, who follows in Lewis's footsteps, was arrested during protests over a close gubernatorial election in Georgia back in 2018. Her husband was a top aide to Lewis. The 41-year-old said voters need someone who's not afraid to put themselves on the line, just like the congressman did. He famously took part in the civil rights marches in the 1960s and was severely beaten during a Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. Funeral arrangements are still pending. Also in Georgia, today a judge will hear arguments on an emergency request by Governor Brian Kemp to stop Atlanta from enforcing a mask mandate and other restrictions related to COVID-19. Kemp sued Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms and members of the city council, arguing local leaders don't have the legal authority to change or ignore his executive orders. Several other cities in Georgia have issued mask ordinances similar to Atlanta, including Savannah and Athens. Bottoms says that Atlanta sits in 2 counties in the state with the highest infection rates. She and her family tested positive for COVID-19 earlier this month. The NFL was responding to player concerns about safety as they prepare for their training camps later this month. On Monday, the league offered to scrap preseason games this summer. The league's proposal also includes an offer for longer training camp, according to ESPN. The Players Association has not yet responded. Earlier in the day, the two parties agreed to a new protocol, which includes daily COVID-19 testing for the first 2 weeks of camp. As of Friday, 72 players have tested positive for COVID-19. Training camps are set to begin July 28th ahead of the season kickoff that's set for September. Here at 4:45, let's check in with Todd and our radar for our Tuesday.
Yeah, good morning, Lauren. We're dealing with some heavy rain across just a small portion of central Indiana this morning. And for those of you in the Richmond area and over in Wayne County, that is you. The rain's really been coming down for quite a while now, and it's slowly just pushing off into Ohio. The rest of us in central Indiana are just dealing with partly to mostly cloudy skies here currently this morning. So let me zoom in for you, and it's really impacting I-70 there through much of Wayne County. And you see right in downtown Richmond there, some very, very heavy rain. What you do not have is any lightning. That's the good news. This is just plain old rain. But definitely watering the lawns there in Richmond to Centerville, back towards Cambridge City, and then as we slide even further off back to the southwest, just north of Rushville there on State Road 3, some very heavy rainfall. And that's really just about it for what's going on in central Indiana right now. There could be a few hit or miss sprinkles here and there, but otherwise we are in a decent shape to get going. Now there is this cluster of storms that's just through St. Louis. This is going to be heading in our direction, and it's really going to follow I-70. So it's going to make its way towards Indianapolis. But here's the deal. As it starts to make its way towards us, it's going to weaken and fall apart. So while it looks really impressive now, by the time it gets here into central Indiana, we're probably looking at just some scattered showers making its way through the area, maybe through about mid-morning, and that is just about it. Otherwise, today's definitely not a washout, although there's probably a little more in the way of cloud cover around compared to yesterday. But watch what happens later on this evening and then into the overnight hours. Another round of heavier rainfall will start to develop and head in our direction. And some of those storms late tonight and into the early morning hours tomorrow could be on the strong to maybe severe side. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center still has most of central Indiana under the marginal risk for severe storms. So it's something we'll have to keep an eye on for us. But as we go forward throughout the course of the day today, by far the biggest threat would be wind. It's probably in the medium threshold level, and that should be just about it as far as the storms go. Maybe a little bit of hail, but it's not a huge concern for us. Temperatures this morning are in the 60s and 70s, and as we go throughout the course of the day today, I think with the cloud cover around, temperatures probably a couple degrees cooler today than they were yesterday. We're looking at highs anywhere from about 83 to 85 degrees with isolated thunderstorms again flaring up in the afternoon hours. And then for tomorrow, honestly, it's just more of the same. There's just a very unsettled pattern across much of the Midwest. There's a couple fronts in the vicinity, and that's why these thunderstorms are going to be flaring up at times, not only tomorrow, but into Thursday and Friday as well. And as we work our way into the weekends, there could be a stray storm on Saturday and Sunday, but for the most part, we're going to be dealing with higher temperatures, obviously, as we climb up into the 90s and a little more in the way of humidity. So this stretch of weather today through Friday, again, no days of washout, but it's one of those stretches of weather where if you're out running errands in your car, you probably want to have the umbrella handy just in case one of these downpours moves through while you are out and about. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Take a look here in the downtown area. This is I-65 and I-70 at the North Split. A little bit earlier, we had a crash in the right lanes. That was closed for a little bit, those lanes, as they cleaned that up. That was on I-70 westbound heading into the North Split. So everything is back open here as you're heading into downtown, and that is good news. Right now, we are monitoring just 2 other issues reported by INDOT, the westbound lanes of I-465 at US 31. We have a ramp closure in the area due to the crash that's on the south side, so keep that in mind. We also have I-74 westbound, a ramp closure in that area all the way out near State Road 25. That's due to a vehicle fire, so we'll continue to monitor any issues for your commute and keep you updated throughout the morning. It is 4:49 here on your Tuesday, and we know Wisconsin Bank has come up with a creative way to help local businesses amid the coronavirus pandemic and that coin shortage that it's caused. The Community State Bank launched a coin buyback program. People who turn in $100 worth of change to one of the bank's 7 locations will get a $5 bonus. Hundreds of people have already dropped off their spare change, and the bank says that some have brought in coins without asking for anything back. The shortage was a result of the partial closure of the economy, which halted the flow of coins. The bank says it will continue the program until there is no longer a demand. The IRS has released its Dirty Dozen list of what it considers to be the top tax scams in 2020. One of the most popular types of scams are phishing scams, which the IRS calls a major threat right now. These scams use fake emails and websites to steal personal information. There's also fake charities and threatening impersonator phone calls, those calls where a scammer pretends to be the IRS and demands your money or threatens the victim with legal action. The IRS says that Americans need to remain vigilant as more aggressive and evolving schemes are being committed related to this pandemic. At 4:51, when life gives you lemons, sometimes it is hard to make that lemonade, and that's why Country Time is bailing out some little entrepreneurs who are having a hard time due to the pandemic. Their lemonade brand's Littlest Bailout program will give $100 checks to children whose lemonade stands have been affected by COVID-19. All participants need to do is submit an essay on how they would use their stimulus check and a photo of the lemonade sign that they were going to use but cannot. Kids ages 14 and under can apply with parental permission. The contest runs through August 12th. 1,000 winners will be chosen. An Ohio business is hoping to cash in on an unusual product while protecting you from the coronavirus. Coming up, why the company's founder says he's laughing straight to the bank. And colleges and universities all across the country, they're getting ready to welcome students back to campus. Coming up all new at 5 o'clock, we'll take a look at what they're doing to prepare for a safe return. It's 4:52. Stick around. We'll be right back. The time right now is 4:55. A Cincinnati company wants to help protect you from the coronavirus. Under the Weather is known for its weather pods, which were featured on Shark Tank years ago. Well, now that same idea is being marketed to people to help them social distance. Their newest product is called the Shield Pod, and the company says it can't keep up with the demand.
When I came up with the original pod, which is just a pop-up tent you sit at the side of a soccer game 10 years ago, people laughed their behinds off at me when I showed up, and they told me it wouldn't work and no one's ever going to want that, and then all of a sudden they sit in it and they like it. And this got much the same. It was a laughing matter for a lot of people, but you know, so far a couple thousand people have reached out. We've sold them to school systems and bulk orders that haven't even arrived yet, so that's not even part of the 2,000.
Wow, well, the company's founder says he's also working on versions of the Shield Pod for medical workers and airline passengers. There you go, Todd. You can come back to work over here in the Weather Center and wear one of those. Okay. We wouldn't get sick.
Yeah, all right. And you might need those at times here over the next couple days just to shield you from some of these downpours that are expected across central Indiana. So as we go throughout the next couple days, really through Friday, We'll be dealing with scattered showers and storms. No day is going to be a washout. That's the good news. There's plenty of dry hours mixed in. About 85 today, a little more in the way of sunshine the next couple days. That's why you're in the 87-degree range. Once we get to the weekend, highs will be right around 90 degrees with less in the way of rain. So very summer-like forecast here. We'll dive into it in more detail for you coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues.